In the description, I'm going to put the link to this URL for you all. What's good, YouTube? It's Anthony here again, bringing you all part 3 of our series. I would like to apologize for the lack of videos on the channel. My USB-C adapter for my MacBook, it had broke, and the company finally sent me the replacement that I needed. So let's talk more coding. So in today's video, I would like to add some small tweaks to our current UI that we have here. And when we click this don't have an account button, nothing happens. So today I would like to implement that functionality too. So let's get started. So first, let's begin with, I don't like this purple color of our button. So let's go about changing the color of that button first. And instead of us doing the traditional way of creating a UIColor object and assigning that color, I want to add this useful extension method that I like to use in some of my projects too as well, because it's easier. So let's go by adding the extension. So we're going to extend the UIColor class, and we're going to add a static function called RGB for red, green, blue. And we're going to pass in 3 parameters, a R, which would be a CG float type. And what this R represents, so if we go back to our view controller class, the R will represent the 89 value that we're passing in for red, and we're going to do the same for G and B. So R, G, which is a CG float type as well, B, which is a CG float type. And this method will return a UIColor object. Okay. And we would like to return UIColor. And we're going to use the constructor of display P3 red. And we're going to do R divided by 255, G divided by 255, and B divided by 255, and return 1 for the alpha. Okay, and now that we have this extension, we can return to our view controller class, and instead of calling it like that, we can do UIColor dot RGB. Did it not save? Let's see. Oh, my file didn't save. Let's save that. And we come in here, RGB, and we're going to pass in 89, 156, 120, and we will get the same exact thing. Boom. And I just like doing it this way because it's simpler and it makes the code cleaner too as well. So do we have any more color changes? Nope, we don't. Okay, so now let's change our button, our purple button color to a light green color. So same thing like we did, but this time we're going to pass in 89, 156, 120. Okay, and also let's go to our constant and let's do the same thing for here. So UIColor.RGB, we're going to pass in 1, that's 09, 201, 149. Copy and paste that because I'm lazy, and type it right there. So if we run it, now we should see that our purple button is changed color and everything else is still the same. Alright, cool. So now our button is a lighter tone of green. Okay. Now let's go back into this file. And as you can see, when we type the password, we have 2 things wrong. One, the text is black when it should be white. And also it's not securing our password. So going back to the email text field, we need to do, so it's the same thing for the email text field as well. Okay. So we need to set the text color to white. And same thing for P, we need to set the text color to white. And we also need to modify this property for the UI text field. That property is called secure text entry, and what this property does, it identifies whether the text object should disable text copying and in some case hide the text being entered. So due to the fact that it's a password, of course we want our text to be hidden, so we set this property to true. And if we run it again, now the email is white and the password is white and it is secure as well. Okay, so that's a good start. Okay, and so now going back into our file, let's add the implementation when we actually click the don't have an account sign up button. So first thing first that I would like to do, I would like to change our class name to login controller. So, and we're also going to change our file name to login controller. And due to the fact that we're changing the class name to login controller, we have to go to our app delegate and create an instance of our login controller, because previously we was referring to the view controller class. And so now let's add the functionality when we click on this button, like I said. So we have to add a target to this actual button. So our button is h.set target. I think that's just target. Add target, my bad. So our target would be self, and the action that we would like to add, we'll create a method for this in a second. Selector, let's call it sign up action, and we want this to happen every time a user touch up inside. Sign up action. Okay, so let's create our method. Let's just create it right here. So at objc sign up action and print, let's sign up. So let's just do this to validate that it's actually calling the method like it should. Oh, I forgot func. And when we click this don't have an account, we should see down here in the console, let's sign up. So which performs like we want it to. Okay, and so what we want to happen is when we click this button, we would like it to push a another view controller that we actually have. So with that being said, let's create the view controller that we wanted to see. And me personally, I like to create groups so I can actually organize my code. So we'll create a group for login, and we'll create another group for sign up. So let's move this file to our login group, and within our sign up group, we're going to create a new file and call it sign up controller. Okay, and in the sign up controller, we're going to create a class and we're going to call it sign up controller, and it's going to be a child of a UI view controller, and we have to call the viewDidLoad method super.viewDidLoad. And let's just set the background color to something, let's just do yellow. Okay, and so what we want to happen, so let sign up controller equals sign up controller, and we want our navigation item, our navigation controller, to actually push this view controller on top of the stack. So navigation controller dot push view controller sign up controller true. So we run this. What we should see is that it's not gonna actually work. And the reason that it's not working because our login controller isn't in a it doesn't have a navigation controller. The reason it doesn't have one because when we instantiated our instance of login controller, we didn't put it inside of an actual navigation controller. So let's do that. Controller equals login controller. And now we're going to do UI navigation controller, and we're going to assign the root view controller login controller. And so now what should happen is it should, as you can see, it's working now because we have this bar at the top, which is the navigation bar. And when we click don't have an account, it pushes our sign up controller. And we know this because of course we set the background color to yellow. But we don't want this navigation bar at the top. So one property that we can set is navigation bar hidden true. And so what this would do, it will set the navigation bar to hidden. Yep, see, it works, which is perfect. Okay, and now when we click this, it just presents us with our view controller. But now we need to add some type of mechanism. We need to add a button at the bottom that will enable us to actually return back to our login controller if the user does have an account. So let's go ahead and implement that. And due to the fact it's very it's very similar to our have account button that's at the bottom of our login controller. To save time, I'll just copy and paste this. Okay, and what we would like to, we'll change the title of it to already have an account. And we would do sign in. Okay, everything is correct. And we need to sign in action. And I like to name it is, that's okay, we would just leave it like that for the time being. Okay, and same thing is like we did earlier. So we create our function, we call it sign in action. And what we would like to do is call the navigation controller and tell it to pop this view controller. So what this would do, it would take the current view controller that is looking at and it will pop it off the stack. And next we need to actually add our have account button to the bottom of our actual view controller. Okay, so we can just do this setup have account button, and we'll make it a private method. File private function. Okay, view.add subview have account button, and then we're going to set our anchors up on this have account button. Anchors. So the top anchor would be nil, 0. The bottom anchor would be our actual view controller's bottom anchor, which would be the safe area layout guide dot bottom anchor, and we'll just make it what's 8 pixels from the bottom, and the left would be the entire view left anchor, no padding. View dot right anchor, no padding, and we're going to set it a height of let's just do 20. And we don't have to provide a width because our left and right anchor actually provides the width value for us. So we just put 0. And also for this background, let's change it to green, our green theme variable. So when we click it, I already have an account, and as you can see, it returns back, which is the implementation that we want. Okay, that's a good start. So now Me personally, I don't like this. I don't like that you can't tell the separation between our email and password field. So one way we can go about telling the separation between the two, we can add borders around them. So if we go to our password field, well, let's do our email field first. So border color, we can set a border color around it, which is color of white. Oh, I don't know why I did that, but white. And we can set a border width. Let's just set it as something small, width of 2. And what this would do, it would place a border around the entire text field, so we can actually see like all this is. Oh, I have to UIColor .white.cg color. Yeah. Okay. And if, like I was saying, what this is going to do, it's going to set a border around our email text field. So we can do the same thing for our password if we want to, but to save time, I'm not going to do this. So one thing that'll actually be cool is if we can provide a border just for the bottom instead of a border around the entire text field itself. So let's go about adding that. So going back to our extensions file. So this is a UI text field object. So we're going to write another extension method of the UI text field class. And we're going to call this method set bottom border. And the reason I'm calling it set bottom border, because I just want to add a border to the bottom. I don't care about the right side, the left side, or the top side. I just want a bottom border. And we're going to need two things. We're going to need the background color that we would like our view to be. And we're also going to need the border color, what border color we would like it to be. So background color, and it's a UI color, and border color, and it's also a UI color variable. So within this method, we need to assign five properties. So the first property is the background. So we set this to the background, and it has to be of CG color type. And so what this does, this will set the background color of our text field, just like what we did here. So in reality, we really can eliminate this line of code there and this line of code here. Okay, going back to our extension. So that will set the background color of our UI text field. And next, we would like to set the shadow offset. So I'll explain to you what this does. Let me just type this code. 0.0, 1.0. Okay. So what the shadow offset does, it defines the layer shadow property. So let me just write a look. Defines the layer's shadow. And so the reason we defined it to 1.0 because we want the shadow of this bottom border to be the height of 1, and we don't need no width because it defines the width of the shadow on the right hand side. So for testing purposes, let's just pick 5 so I can show you all why I set it for 0. And let's set these other properties. Self.layer.shadow opacity, we will set that to 1.0. And the reason we're setting it to 1 because we don't want it to be transparent. We want it to be fully visible. Next, we need to set our shadow radius. We set our shadow radius to 0. So what the shadow radius does, it defines the blur radius to apply to the shadow created. So with that being said, the higher the radius, it makes the shadow more spread out, and the lower makes the shadow more visible and more focused. And we don't want any blur or nothing like that for our bottom borders. So that's why we set it to 0. And the last property would be what actual color we want our shadow to be. And we would set the shadow color using our border color. And it has to be a CG color type. Okay, and that should do it. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to call this method save. We're going to call this method on our email property, email variable. So set bottom border, and the background color we want is the green theme, and we want our border color to be white. And so if we run this, what we should see is a border around the email, but which this part is right, but we have this thick white border right there, and that's why we set the width to 0, because what that's doing, that's applying 5.0 width to the right hand side of our label. And so now going back, adding 0 to it and running it again, now we should see that it's not going to be any border around the email, which is what we want. Okay, we can do the same exact thing. We can really just copy and paste this and do the same thing for our password as well. And now when we run it, we'll see that they both have it. And now we see the how much space is in between each one of them. And me personally, I don't like this login button so close up on the so close up under the password. So let's add some space to it. Let's add some space in between them two. So for the top anchor, let's just add 12, and also let's round those corners too. I don't like the corners how they look. Oh, excuse me. So we're gonna set our layer.corner radius to, let's just do 10. Excuse me. And now running it, we should see some rounded corners, and we're gonna see some more space in between it. Cool, that looks great. And one more thing before this video ends, I want to add like a little small logo or something right here, because we have a lot of space right here and we're not using it at all. So let me find this logo that I have and drag it to the assets folder. Oop, there we go. Okay, it's just a little small off green Facebook logo that I just drew up real quick. So let's create our logo, and it would be a UI image view. Okay, let L equals UI image view, and L.image would be logo. It saves, right? Oh, icon. I named it icon. Icon, and L.content mode equals scale, aspect fill, and L.layer.mask to bounds equals true. L.layer.corner radius equals 20, and we're gonna return our L. And I just set the corner radius to 20 because I really like the circle, the rounded edges on my images. It kind of looks pretty nice to me, so that's why I set it like that. Oh, excuse me. And so now let's add our button. So just repeating the same pattern like we did earlier. We create a method, setup, add logo or something like that. It doesn't matter. You can name it whatever you want to call it. And put it right here. File private function. View.add. It's the same process like we did for our other stuff. And so logo dot anchors, and the top anchor would be our view safe area up got the top anchor, which would be up here. And the reason we're doing a safe area layout guide because we don't want it to interfere with this top part up here. And we're gonna do let's just say 64 pixels from the top. We don't have any bottom, we don't have a left, we don't have a right either. And for the height and the width, we're just gonna do 150, so it can be a perfect square. And we want it, so since we're not providing a left or a right, I kind of want it centered like in the middle of our phone. So we're going to center it based off our current view center x-axis. So logo.center x anchor dot constraint equals to view dot center x anchor, and we're going to set it active. It's true. And so now we should see our logo in the middle as well. Cool. Now this looks so much better. Okay, and all the functionality still works. And as you can see, this is being changed to black, so we'll fix that. All you need to do is just copy this and just go in here and override that property, preferred status bar style, to light content, and it should fix it. But yeah, so this is it for this video.